What's up guys, it's me Clumsy, and in this video I'll be going through the top 20 best tips of Fortnite chapter 3 that you might have not known about. There's so many useful and valuable tips in this video, so if you need to pause, feel free to do so. Please consider subscribing if this video helps you out, and also let me know in the comments other useful tips that I did include in this video. And without further ado, let's get right into it. The best way to use a quad crasher is in duos, trios, or squads. Have someone with the web shooter mythic attach the webs to the quad crusher and have the other guy boost up a ramp or a structure that will make him go higher. This is insane formability. You can also use the quad crusher in different ways, especially for solos. First, you can do the most common strategy, which is just to place the ramp and then use that to get speed. You can also place a wall like this and go off of it, or use natural structures such as rocks to get that initial boost. Do whichever you like, but overall, this is going to be an amazing strategy for rotating through the map quickly. With the release of Chapter 3, we got this sliding mechanic, and I can't wait to see what people come up with this, but in just 2 weeks in, we already have some strategies using the sliding mechanic. Before, and still a very reliable way to exploit into someone's box, is to make the wall one tap, then place a ramp, and then if you timed it right, you would phase in. What you want to do now is make the wall one tap like before, but then this is the part where it takes a little practice. You have to break the wall as you're sliding in, so there's gonna be a little bit of timing in this trick, but if you get it right, people won't expect it, and you can just destroy your opponents before they can even react. Shout out to Rosefeared on TikTok for this tips. He also streams on Twitch. I mentioned the web shooters in tip number 1, but here's where you can find it. On the screen, these are all the locations. They will be hanging on buildings, trees, and other vertical structures by webs. You can search them or just break them. Breaking them is going to be a lot faster. Here's another sliding tip. When sliding, let go of all your movement keys so you can look around, slide backwards and everything. This is super useful for having better awareness and looking around and still being unpredictable so you don't get beamed. The mythical assault rifle is the most broken thing in the game right now. If you didn't know, you can get it by killing the foundation that spawns in the sanctuary. There is no exact spot of where he is, but he's usually walking around somewhere in the middle, but don't take my word for it because I've only landed there a couple of times and this is just where I found him. There are 2 easy ways you can kill him without taking damage. For some reason, when you're standing on these bushes, the foundation suddenly becomes clueless and he just doesn't shoot at you. This might get fixed, so here's the second way. Find a harpoon, build up and use the harpoon to kill the foundation by fall damage. This is honestly a very easy and reliable way to get the mythical AR each time. You can even store the mythical AR in a tent, so then next game, there'll be 2 mythical assault rifles, and let's say you're playing duos, then both of you could get the mythical assault rifle in just the same game. There is these new coolers that spawn around the map, and a lot of people don't know about them. Basically, they will look something like this, and they guarantee either a chug splash or a guzzle juice. Sometimes it will drop both chug splashes and guzzle juice, and sometimes you'll only get guzzle juice, and sometimes you'll only get chug splashes. But either way, you are guaranteed to get at least one of those items, so it's impossible that you don't get anything. It can also drop up to 6 chug splashes. On the screen, these are all the locations. Feel free to pause if you need to. If we go back to Chapter 2, Season 3, the boat that spawns randomly each game was introduced and it gave such amazing loot. Well, now in Chapter 3, it is back and here's what you can get from it. The boat contains 2 henchman chests, around 2 normal chests, enough slurp barrels to get you to full health, decent materials to start with, and a lot of food boxes. It spawns randomly, so if you're trying to land there, stay in the battle bus and look around the outskirts of the map because that's where it usually spawns. Rifts were introduced back in Chapter 1, Season 5, but they are back again in Chapter 3, and here's where you can find them. 3 rifts will spawn around each vault. On the screen right now, these are all the locations of the vaults plus the rift spawns. Feel free to pause at any time in this video to have a closer look. The fastest way to get a start in your game or get some insane momentum is by holding your slide button when you're in the air. This will give you such a big boost and can be very useful in some situations, like when you're landing in the beginning of the game or just using this trick to pull up and surprise your opponents. Llamas run when you shoot at them, which is pretty annoying, but if you crouch walk while aiming your weapon like so and you're behind the llama, you will be able to get right beside it without it being alarmed, and then you could box it and kill it very easily. There is a risk of doing this since you are slowly crouching in the open, making you an easy target to beam, so be careful when you're doing this. Here's a little fun fact about the web shooters. They can be used like a harpoon gun, but the difference is that it's much better and has a much longer reach. I tested with this for some time and honestly 50 meters was the perfect distance. Every time I tested further, it wouldn't work and I would grab the floor instead. Right here on the screen, I'm exactly 50 meters away from the mini and I was still able to grab it. So the web shooters is basically the harpoon but 20 times better. I saw this on TikTok by many different creators and I thought I should mention it in this video. The breakable trees will always go wherever the nearest enemy is, and you can also use them to rotate on water insanely quickly by hitting it with your pickaxe. When a tree falls on a player, it does 100 damage, but when it hits a player when rolling, it depends on the amount of force. As you can see, it only did 20 damage this time, but when I did it again, it did 100 damage. These trees are very lethal and they can destroy builds like it's nothing. But my question is, can they destroy steel walls? Let's find out. So I didn't know which way it was gonna fall, so I placed 4 steel floors everywhere around it, and as you can see, it lands, it doesn't break it, and it actually didn't do any damage either. If you didn't know already, you can open doors, drop loot, and even go on zip lines when you're knocked. This is very useful and I don't see many people doing it, so please, if your teammate needs heals or mats and you're knocked down, make sure to drop them some loot. The SMG is meta in chapter 3. Shotguns are trash, so that means this chapter is all about spraying. Yes, I hate it too, but that's the reality. Now, some tips I can give you is carry a lot of heals. You are gonna get sprayed, you are gonna get melted. Also, try to get some hard mats always, so like brick and metal, because these SMGs melt through builds, and if you have wood, well, you're screwed. Speaking about the shotguns, you can actually double pump, but allow me to explain because it's not as good as the old times. In fact, I don't even think it's worth it. Switching to your pump and shooting is actually faster than just holding one shotgun and waiting to shoot again. There is no reason to do this though, because an SMG in your inventory slot instead of that second shotgun is much better, and you're just going to be at a disadvantage if you have two shotguns. And not to mention, they're trash. By now, you have probably heard that reviving or rebooting your teammates with more than one person makes it quicker, but how big is the difference? So as we know, with one person, it takes the same amount of time like before, so 10 seconds. With 2 people, it is twice as fast, and with 3 people, it's 3 times faster. So we can assume that with 2 people, it is around 5 to 6 seconds, and with 3 people, it's probably, if I had to make an estimate, around 4 seconds-ish. The reason I can't give an exact number is because of a human error. You're not going to start reviving your friend at the exact same time, so assume these estimates. When you're on high ground, a common move everyone used to do is to jump, shoot, and place a floor to block your opponent's shot. Well, now there's a much better method. Sliding and shooting like this is much better than jumping because you're not as exposed as the jump peak. Once again, I learned this tip from a roast feared on TikTok. This isn't really a tip, but I thought I should mention it anyway. Tilted Towers will be returning in chapter 3. A reliable leaker, Hypex, said this about Tilted. Tilted Towers' 4th birthday is on the 18th of January, and it's timed with an update date as well as a leaked file which states, eliminate an opponent in Tilted Towers. Also, the buildings and the location of Tilted Towers aligns perfectly if you compare and overlay the chapter 1 map and the chapter 3 map. Here's a very useful trick to go down fast when you're on high ground. Everyone knows the waterfall, but here's what you can do instead. Rotate your ramp, and as you go down, slide and keep placing ramps. This is super fast because you can build momentum over time and it will get you down quicker. However, this is risky and can easily be shot down, meaning you need to only use this when you're sure you are safe and the enemy isn't looking at you, but rather he is shooting the builds below you. Also, I don't recommend doing this if you're really high up, so this is very situational. In the Daily Bugle building, there is these windows and you can actually slide through them, which is very useful to know if you land there a lot, since you can easily maneuver around the building, which will give you an advantage over your opponents. I learned this from It's Jarian. And that concludes this video. Please consider subscribing if you found this video helpful or you want to see more content like this. I also have a Discord, and this is where I announce my uploads and keep you guys updated on anything Fortnite related. This is also where I chat with my community. All my social links will be down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.